صباح الخير. Ladies and gentlemen, before we start, I kindly remind you that headphones are available at the front row desk that you may use for a presentation that will be made either in Arabic or French or English. Thank you. السيدة رئيسة المجلس الأعلى للتربية والتكوين والبحث العلمي.
Je tiens à souhaiter à nos honorables invités, responsables des institutions éducatives des pays
to reflect together on the dynamics of transformation. Major challenges remain, calling for innovative and effective solutions. While Africa's education sector has indeed recorded notable achievements, significant challenges persist. In this regard, the recent decree that has been issued by His Majesty just 3 weeks ago to allocate a significant share of the 2026 national budget to the sector of youth education and health testifies to the royal vision that places youth at the heart of our nation's present and future, recognizing them as the cornerstone of renewal and progress. A recent report on education in Africa estimates that the continent will need an additional 17 million teachers to achieve universal access to primary and secondary education by 2030, making teacher training one of the greatest challenges of our time. Despite commendable efforts made by each African country to improve its education system, inequalities, both social and territorial, continue to affect these systems. Several reports have highlighted key weaknesses in the education sector that must be addressed, such as exclusion, social and territorial disparities. Such as exclusion, social and territorial disparities, limited access to digital networks, school climate, teacher training, and financing. These challenges undermine the resilience of different or several educational systems across Africa. All these impediments compel our institutions to embrace their responsibilities in driving a qualitative shift in education, be it those charged with implementing reforms such as ministerial departments or those mandated to provide opinions and assess outcomes such as our council. Educational systems rely on clear the challenges confronted by African nations are real, and be aware of them. We will engage in meaningful dialogue to develop solutions, as no nation can afford to overlook or evade these pressing issues. Today, we are witnessing a growing consciousness among African states of the need to take control of their educational destinies. UNESCO's report by 2050 poses crucial questions that call for our response. In that horizon, we must ask ourselves three essential questions regarding educational reform. The first of which is, what should we continue doing? Which means what we are doing now, we should continue doing it. The second question is, what must we cease doing along our reform journey? And the third inquiry is, what should we innovate to renew our thinking and lead reform? What must unquestionably be preserved is the right to lifelong education, despite geopolitical upheavals and the accelerating pace of technological innovation. Issues of inclusion, equity, and civic participation remain paramount. Yet, misinformation, fake news, and economic and political crises pose additional barriers and impediments to comprehensive reform. Throughout human history, education has been a pillar of progress and prosperity. Nowadays, more than ever, it must be renewed to serve as a primary lever for the transformation of our societies. Education is the bridge that carries us from one era to another. It holds the power to enable the African continent to revive what the writer Sheikh Anta Diop called historical consciousness, and in my view, to allow us to shape the architecture of our present and our future. Yet, we retain a part of our African heritage, even amid the transformation affecting our educational systems. We are all aware that climate change threatens humanity alongside armed conflict, poverty, and digital warfare, with disruptive effects that societies must face head-on. Artificial intelligence is also deeply transforming education, training, and scientific research. Over the past 2 decades, Morocco has accompanied its education system through successive reforms aimed at removing barriers and promoting equity and quality in education in order to build a conscious and knowledgeable society. Akin to many African countries, our reform journey continues with determination. Yet major challenges persist, such as school dropout and academic failure, which can sometimes drive young people toward exclusion or migration, calling for continued and intensified efforts. In this context, we must also engage with UNESCO's 2021 report, Reimagining Our Future Together by Building a New Social Contract for Education. It is self-evident that each country must respond to this call while considering both the constraints and opportunities inherent in transforming its education system. Aligning educational transformation with a social construct is thus a necessity. This contract is not merely an exchange, but an implicit agreement among members of society aimed at achieving collective benefit. It is a framework that shapes education while guiding a nation's development. In the 18th century, in France, Jean-Jacques Rousseau wrote two complementary works, The Social Contract and Emily Orr on Education. The underlying idea is clear. No true social contract can exist without education. As for Africa, numerous national and international reports have diagnosed the state of education and identified precise solutions addressing access to schooling, continuity of learning, school infrastructure, curricula, vocational and lifelong training, and governance of education systems and public policies. The key question remains, what is the catalytic factor or the driving factor whose reform can trigger multiplied effects and positive dynamics across the entire education system? We are all aware that education reforms often progress slowly due to multiple factors. To achieve genuine transformation, perseverance is essential, and sometimes a renewal of reformed methodologies themselves is required. Deep transformation transcends rhetoric. It depends on evolving the practices of educational actors and the performance of their institutions. Education is a precious public good that must be continuously renewed to address the complex challenges facing our African nations. Such renewal cannot occur without the commitment of teachers, the primary actors, in establishing a social contract for education. Nor can any progress be achieved without the active participation of all stakeholders as agents of change driven by conviction, engagement, commitment, and a sense of shared responsibility. The quality of life of Africans is directly linked to the quality of their education, which determines the social mobility and their capacity to shape their own destinies and that of their communities. Education in this sense embodies capability, as defined by Amartya Sen. Today we are witnessing a profound global transformation at the geopolitical level, one that is reshaping our collective future. And to face this change, as active participants, we must possess high-performing educational systems. On the institutional level, despite our structural differences and discrepancies, our institutions share a common goal. The organizations represented here today all bear responsibilities that influence public and private education and training policies. I sincerely hope that our exchanges over the upcoming couple of days will enable us to better understand one another in order to engage in collective reflection and to strengthen cooperation and partnership so that together we may contribute effectively to transforming education across our continent, Africa. Ultimately, I would like to renew or to reiterate my welcoming to our African friends here in Rabat and to all our participants and partners, wishing us fruitful discussions that will advance our educational systems and benefits our children. And thank you so much.